Well, good morning, good afternoon, wherever you may be. Welcome to Zyxel's Tech Talk. Today, we'll be talking about security and the need for speed that's happening in kind of the network security side of things, and how the network expansion and people's speeds are going to be putting some pressure on the security side. My name is Tri Win. I'm the product manager, sales manager here at Zyxel, and help to do some product development and partner relations as well. So glad to be here. Glad to have you all here as well and joining us today. So we have lots of slides to cover as usual. I also like it to be interactive as well. So if you have any questions, please use the Q&A section. So I'll try to get to those questions as we go along. Also, as a reminder as well, this is also being recorded on our Facebook and will be uploaded to our YouTube channel as well. And you'll be able to find this recording and any of our previous webinars from our website in the webinar section, in case you have coworkers or team members who may be interested in this and be able to watch this on their own time. So let's just jump right in. Just a quick introduction to who Zyxel is. We are Zyxel Networks, 30 years of networking expertise since 1989. We make 100 million devices connected today with 700 employees worldwide in 150 different markets. Over 1 million businesses use Zyxel solutions today. We partner up with a lot of different companies and vendors and different brands to deliver connectivity to millions of people around the world, some of which you see down there towards the bottom. We're proud to also be working with a lot of industry leaders as partners as well, not only to provide security application security solutions within the network firewall side, but also partnerships with different companies that provide their technologies and expertise in different types of solutions, applications for Wi-Fi, for security, and for the switching side, or even in the cloud aspect of the network. We're here to serve you as your representatives of Zyxel products, and be here to support you on any of the technical and logistical sides of things. So David, Andy, and Jacob represent the account managers that manage the North American channel here, and you will work closely with them hopefully you're working closely with them to providing the right solutions. Any questions that you have, support, distribution side, we're here to be the liaison for that. We are solutions driven. We deliver solutions to clients like yourself and partners to deliver to end customers. And because we are the makers and controllers, and we have our own R&D functionalities for the hardware and the software of our products, we can deliver solutions and gather your feedback in any kind of different vertical markets. So again, we're here to deliver what you need. And so your feedback is invaluable to us. So please let us know if you do have any ideas, questions, ways that you think might help to improve the product. Let us know so that we can put that into our roadmaps. We deliver a comprehensive portfolio, security appliances, wireless solutions, Ethernet connectivity with PoE, fiber, access gateways, hospitality functionalities, guest network access, and be able to manage it not only in the standalone mode, but also in a Nebula cloud platform as well. So kind of a full featured there. Anything you need that connects to a network, we have a solution for you. So today we're going to talk about security and kind of like I would say the pressures of managing security while still maintaining higher speeds. And of course, applications have changed. People are now pushing applications into the cloud side. People are working more from a remote standpoint as well. And so it's putting pressures on not only the speeds that are required. So ISPs are being pushed towards higher speeds, and also from a competitive advantage, I would say as well. They're trying to kind of get one up on their competitors by offering a higher speed to their customers, to either keep them on for just loyalty, longevity, and to minimize the churn rate there. But then also to be, being able to push those kinds of technologies and pushing those envelopes into the home, into the business. So as of 2022, the global average was approximately 100 megabits per second, and it was been growing for about 20% year over year. Internet service providers in more than 50 countries today offer gigabit or faster speeds. And while most of those people today, it's going to continue to increase, and it's going to be the global average in the 2030s. So in about 7 years or so, everybody's going to have gigabit or faster. But with faster speeds, I would say security is a concern, at least for me. I'm in the security product management side of Zyxel, and we constantly see this push where the pipe and the WAN speeds are increasing. People are doing more through that WAN internet connection, that security becomes potentially compromised, or some people may compromise security for speed, which for me, as a product manager, that is a concern. So we want to be able to find the balance and make sure that you can still maintain as fast as possible, or as fast as you can afford, because you can always get to those speeds. It's just a matter of how much you want to pay, or what's reasonable pricing, for that kind of solution. And so we're here to try to find that balance between price, between the speed that's available, and the security levels. Obviously, for me, I want you to provide security to as best as your ability, or as best as the budget allows for you to do, to maintain that, especially with today's cybersecurity concerns, more and more breaches and ransomware that's out there that we'll talk about. And that becomes a big factor on how you may deliver this kind of solution. And I think it's a responsibility of partners as well as the vendor. So we provide the tools to help you facilitate as much security as you possibly know how to do for your customer. Almost like it's almost like it's your responsibility to help your customers who have maybe no expertise on the cybersecurity side, and they depend upon you to provide the information, and to be the consultant on what's the best practice, what's the best options, what are the solutions that are available to make sure that my business is protected. And then also in the same vein, it's going to protect you as a partner from, due diligence, or maybe negligence concerns. So you would be able to say, hey, we did our due diligence as best as we knew how best we could, meeting these standards and using these tools in order to facilitate the highest level of security that we possibly can. So just keep that in mind as we move through security, not only from speed perspective, but from cybersecurity, insurance perspective. All of that is going to come into play in the coming years. It's already here, but we're going to see it more prevalent out there. So with Bitdefender, some of their security information, cybersecurity threats continue to be a challenge, and they always will evolve. Right now with AI, things like that, more and more options are there to help facilitate these kinds of attacks. So there'll be more ransomware victims, I would say, more data breaches than we'll ever see before. And organizations have to kind of embrace a cybersecurity stance, and they have to focus on resilience and automation to manage all of that, because there's no way that you're going to be able to just have something set it and forget it in type scenario with cybersecurity. It's an ongoing process because it continues to evolve and change, new vectors, et cetera. And some of the challenges that we see in terms of that is, IoT security challenges. There's a lot of those IoT devices that are maybe just defaulted security, or doesn't have any kind of real security to it. So those could be potential attack vectors that these, hackers and such can get to, and utilize and use that to kind of springboard into the network, per se. And also out there too is ransomware as a service. There are a lot of those options out there where some of these, they may not be very sophisticated attackers, but they know how to go through a kind of a website service offering and build their own viruses. And again, with AI today as well, what stops them from utilizing AI to facilitate these creations of different attacked software and malware. So we're going to see that proliferation to a large scale there. And so it's a kind of an ongoing defense system that we need to continue to maintain, and take a security posture and take that seriously, rather than a kind of wait and see, wait till we're uh, you know taken over or infected or compromised before we take action, right? That's not the stance that we want you as partners to take for your customers. But again, it's a difficult, I think it's a difficult kind of conversation with the customers. I think with more news of data breaches and that they see maybe potentially their peers getting attacked or dealing with these situations, I think that is more so going to be the kind of the catalyst to getting people to move forward when they see it happening around them, because everybody takes that stance of, well, it's not going to happen to me, right? They always in a denial state, and so until it happens, we'll deal with it, and that's, again, it can be costly, and so some business can even kind of cease to function if all of a sudden all of their information, data that they had is not backed up, or they've been compromised in a way that just kind of makes it very difficult to kind of recover from. And that happens, quite a bit. And we think it's going to continue to happen. Some of the other pervasive challenges that businesses have in general from a cybersecurity standpoint is limited budget. Again, they're already focused on a lot of different things, and setting aside funding and investment into this kind of defense, it's hard to pull from. You'll have to pull from your marketing or whatever it may be. You might be dealing with you coming in as a partner, dealing with legacy infrastructure. Maybe the infrastructure itself and the hardware that's installed can't facilitate those kinds of security applications up to the level that you want them to do. So you have to make some of our partners have to make a tough decision. They had partners or their customers who said, yeah, you bring up a good point, but we don't want to pay for, we don't want to buy that level of security. And so some of our partners have had to walk away from business because of that, because they said, you know what, it's going to be a liability. It's going to be more work. It's going to be more costly overall for both of us. And it's not going to be a good relationship if I can't set up the defenses that I need to maintain that cybersecurity stance. And so, again, you'll have to make that. And hopefully, you leave them their card or your card, and they call you back when they do get hit with some sort of ransomware, and you have to come in and clean up the mess, right? It's going to be more costly from what I've taught when I talk to partners. It's more costly to come back and almost like rebuild it than to protect it from the beginning. Lack of cybersecurity tools that are that they know about from a business standpoint. So there's a lot of tools out there, but then how to use it. Dealing with compliance or regulations and new regulations and staying up on that as well. What are the new rules? How to make sure that you're in that security, the cybersecurity stance there that's proper. And so again, to minimize your liability in the process as well. The complexity of certain cybersecurity tools out there too. Again, there's a lot of different tools, or maybe you can't find the right tools. And then the ones that you do have may be costly. They may have complexities on to deploy or to use, or maybe even supply chain, issues that you may run into now. You can't get the firewall. You can't get some of those equipment as well. Those could be potential challenges. But then on the human side, things that we deal with is unsafe employee behavior. I don't know if you do, or you set up for your partners. Do you have regular cybersecurity like education? Do you do those gotcha moments just to showcase this is how an attack vector can happen through email or through phishing or through a text? All of those kinds of things need to educate and train employees on how to deal with or how to recognize when there potentially is a potential breach or a potential kind of a threat that's coming through. human error, maybe going to or uploading or going to wrong sites, things like that. There's always those that come into play. That kind of partly is part of the employee behavior as well. Maybe going to different sites that they shouldn't be at the office, or getting their computer compromised because they're surfing or downloading things that they shouldn't be. That can cause a a malware or something to get installed. Shortage of cybersecurity staff. And that's where you as partners come into play. A lot of these end customers that you are servicing, they have nobody in the IT staff. You are their IT staff. And sometimes even partners are stretched pretty thin as well, as they're managing all these customers and realizing that it's not just a break fix scenario, which is why I think partners need to move into that managed service side of things, making sure that you do have some sort of base level plan that helps support you while you're dealing with all of these continual cybersecurity issues. Because again, no product is going to be perfect 100%, but you can minimize and mitigate a lot of that by doing things to make sure that it's there and be able to check on it as well, and staying up to date with alerts and such from us when we release firmwares, or we release any sort of CVEs that maybe that shows some sort of threats that are there against the product, and then being able to deal and mitigate with that. The other human factor is remote workforce and people working from anywhere, and you have no control of those networks as well. You could be stepping into a home network that is already been compromised, and your device that you've brought home is being compromised, and which then you bring back into the office space as well. That potentially could lead to those systems getting infected if you don't have security in place. So all of those challenges are a factor here, as well as that speed, right? That need for things to go faster. There's some increases in spend that we see in these areas below. People are investing more when there's data loss prevention. I think that's kind of driven from the ransomware side, making sure that things are backed up in case of a ransomware attack, then you don't lose your data, or you no longer lose access to the data. But again, some of these attack vectors or these attackers they know how you're doing it. They know you're trying to back it up to the cloud. So there's aspects of security there as well, that if your device gets compromised, not only are they going to ransomware your device, but at the same time, they're going to, before they do that, try to access your cloud, maybe your cloud backups and things like that through your device, which is doing the backupping system, and try to run things there, or to delete things and things that are there as well. So hopefully your cloud data protection has different time timestamps that you can go back to, even if they went and deleted everything. But again, they're trying to cause havoc, and they're trying to find ways, and knowing how trying to counter what we are using to counter their activities. Training of cybersecurity personnel, like I mentioned, having those things to attack people by example, and then using that to train people through emails, alerts, or notifications, to help to deliver employee cybersecurity awareness. Again, for us, we get trained on it. We have to take training on it, and then every once in a while there is some sort of kind of I would say a test attack that goes out to different people at different times, and to try to see if we stumble or we forget our training in terms of a cybersecurity stand. Cloud-based security solutions are being implemented as well and being invested in, because again, these applications are up in the cloud. They want to make sure that certain access as well to those applications are as secure as possible. Cybersecurity for remote working, like I mentioned, implementing policies or secure remote access through VPNs or through secure Wi-Fi connections, etc. So being able to use those to help to protect those remote worker users, to maintain that policy stance, or still maintain those policies that the company has implemented for these users from a security standpoint, even when they are remote. So even endpoint security, if there's devices like mobile devices that are being used as a work device, can be secured in a way. Tablets and things, phone systems, laptops, all of that gets put into that. Mobile security, like I mentioned, and identify access management. So being able to make sure that users that should be there using VPN tunnels or have access are properly identified so that it can be tracked and it could be, again, policied as well. And then cybersecurity automation. And again, most of the threats and things that are out there, they're constantly evolving. So it's how quickly you can react to those things. So a lot of our partners, obviously, from the security perspective, is using AI and such to help with this automation, sandboxing to help with detection of potential new viruses to block against that. And I think that's going to be a balance between people able to from a usability standpoint versus a security standpoint. You're going to have to find a balance. Like, you could lock all the doors and say you can't go anywhere except for these places, right? These websites or these applications. And that's the stance I would probably start with, and then open it up as users are using it, almost like from a firewall standpoint, inside out, outside in, everything is blocked except for what I tell you you're allowed to do, right? And that will minimize. You want to make sure you go through, make sure that your firewall, if you're not using SSL or Telnet, make sure that's closed. There's no rules that allow for that. Everything is blocked. No GUI access from the internet side in. It's all from local side IP or a local side network or even a single IP address from local side getting access to the device security settings. Things like that to make sure that you're locked down as complete as possible. If you're not using VPN today, turn off the VPN, make sure that there's no rules as well that's even listening for VPN, so it doesn't respond to any kind of VPN request. There's no SSL requests, anything like that. Make sure you're as stealth from the internet as you possibly can, without any ports open, etc. So identifying those things and setting that up will dramatically help to prevent attacks from happening, because a lot of these attacks are just coming now with even higher speed internet connections. People can just check a lot more IPs, or check a lot more ports to find potential holes, or just even if somebody responds to that request, knowing that now I know you're there on that IP address, and then I could try to find other ways to penetrate through that network. So that's just kind of the stance that you want to take. But how do we deal with not only security, attacks, but also do it in a way that is efficient, secure, and fast? And so the USG-H series we announced and launched last week. It provides a new level of, I would say, performance in the business space for the small business. It is a multi-core hardware with FastPass technology. Using that new generation of chips, it will boost performance, optimize protection, and give you throughput on that network traffic. So it delivers a very high class, best performance protection for any kind of connected users that are out there in the small business price point. You could have found things that could do these kinds of speeds, but you were going to pay thousands or tens of thousands of dollars in order to facilitate that kind of speed. But what we're offering here is a very flexible port configuration with multi-gig 2.5 gigs, 10 gig options, and PoE options as well. So you can utilize and pick the models that facilitates what you need to do. So the lowest end model is a gigabit, but when you get to the 200 series and up, you'll start seeing 2.5 gig ports. And then when you get to the highest end, the 700 series, you're going to have 10 gig uplinks. And what's great about these ports compared to kind of the USG Flex series today, the H's come with software-defined ports. So they can be configured as WAN or LAN ports that suits your needs. So it's really flexible on how you want to come up with your default kind of implementation which ports are doing what, and utilizing which port speeds are necessary for your application. Some of them are, certain models are also integrated with PoE plus 30 watts of PoE, one or two ports that can feed, voice over IP phones. They're going to do IP cameras or Wi-Fi to create a kind of a Wi-Fi network out of it as well, and deploys in, can be deployed in the Nebula platform. It provides leading edge encryption technology as well, because security is a concern. So utilizing VPN protocols like IKEv2, SSL VPN, IKEv3 as well, to add additional layers of security using two-factor authentication. You can centralize that without needing an extra radius server, but you can also use that authentication and user awareness to help with traffic shaping as well, to minimize bandwidth usage on a user, or certain types of applications. One thing to announce that came out with the H series is now our secure extender license key that you can buy for IPsec, for L2TP, or also SSL VPN for Windows and Mac, is now universalized into just one license. So you can buy the one license and use them in the different OSs as you need, in the different technologies. Now, but keep in mind, the SSL VPN in this current Secu extender only works for the H series. So if you want to use SSL in the older USG flexes, I would say no, the current USG flexes, not the H series, you have to use either the free SSL client or the other paid client for Mac OS. So you can still use SSL, but you have to use the other client to do so. But this one's integrated into that single license. Again, moving forward, this is where it's gonna end up for the models there. So as we release new technology or a new version of the firewall in the future, it's going to follow this path of having a single license for all the different platforms as necessary. With remote users as well, we try to simplify that to help with VPN creation, protocol configuration, also device configuration as well for the Mac or for the Windows machine, or even with Android. You can do and set up in just a few clicks, opening certain like almost like a configuration link that helps to facilitate the configuration of those devices on startup. One thing to note, though, Android did take out their like L2TP protocol connectivity from their devices. So you want to download something like StrongSwan and use that for your VPN, like instead of the native one that was in Android that you could connect to. But you can use L2TP, things like that as well. We suggest, as best as you can, get to IPsec. It's more efficient than SSL. It's more secure than L2TP. So you should get to that if you can. And so that maybe this licensing will help you with that, to get to IPsec rather than sticking with SSL VPN. And so because of the ever-changing factors within security, we have security that constantly evolves as well. So you don't have to maintain that. And that's part of the automation process. A lot of our partners are getting signatures, or they're giving us signatures based on their threat management, based on their systems, detections, et cetera, and produces these kinds of threat signatures that provide us with the ability to now recognize those threats and block it as well, and to be able to protect that. We also use AI and sandboxing to help facilitate when there may be a new virus that comes in, or a new malware, and it doesn't know what it is. It will send it to the sandbox. Sandbox will execute all of that, make sure that it's not malicious, and if it is, create a signature base that is then shared across all devices within that network ecosystem, not just that particular customers, but now anybody who uses the Zyxel infrastructure system is now protected against that iteration of that virus or malware that is there. So that's definitely helpful to help with dealing with threats and outbreaks that are out there within the world. And we have a centralized management option. I say centralized management option because for the past, several years, we've been pushing Nebula Cloud, and that's still the number one way that we want you to manage it. But we do understand that this H series process, or the product right now, is not fully integrated into Nebula. And I would say it's never going to be fully integrated into Nebula in the way that you think of a security appliance that you use today. Right now, the USG Flex takes two identities. It either goes into a standalone mode when you install it as standalone, or you can choose the path of creating it into a Nebula Cloud router, security router, which then actually takes two paths of two different kind of feature sets and two different firmwares. It just has a different identity as well. So what the new H series is doing, and it's going to help us with some of these other things that I'll talk about, is that it's going to take us down a path that no matter where you manage it, whether you managed it standalone or you manage it in the cloud, you are managing the configuration, a single configuration, meaning that no longer will we have to switch from a standalone mode today and reconfigure it into the cloud mode as we do today with existing USG Flexes today. So this will become now a unified configuration and will allow for us to do a lot of fun things in the future. But overall, it's going to simplify installation. It's going to simplify the management. You just make a choice. Do you want to manage it standalone? Fine. You have that full feature set. Do you want to just do it in Nebula? Fine. You have the full feature set. It's just the window into the configuration. So what we have right now is if you don't need a full Nebula GUI, you can still access the GUI through Nebula, as we do with our current standalone products. So it's standalone first. So keep that in mind. It's a standalone device first with centralized manage mode in Nebula. And what that provides for you is you can add it to your organization. You can monitor the device for status, if it's on or off, any issues and alerts there. You can do firmware upgrades. You can manage the licensing as well in that organization. But with the Pro feature, which comes with the bundled or with the gold license that comes with the device, or you buy the device renewal, there is an SSH tunnel mode. And what that does is you can add the device into Nebula so that when you click on the device and tunnel into it, it takes you to the device's GUI interface. And if you start messing with the device, actually the GUI interface of the H series resembles what Nebula the look and feel of Nebula itself is. So in essence, you don't necessarily know if you are actually going to the device itself or you're actually going just to a cloud GUI, a configuration. But ultimately, that's what it is. The cloud configuration is still there as well. It's maintaining it. It can back that information up, back up and restore those configurations, all in that. Keep in mind, though, what if right now the SSL tunnel mode is a Pro license feature. We understand that you may have an org that has APs and switches that are on the base pack, which is the non-pro. And so if you add this to that organization, it's not going to let you do the secure tunnel mode right now because it needs the entire organization to be Pro in order for everything to have Pro features. So that's the drawback right now. But starting in January on the next Nebula release, the H series SSL tunnel mode will be a free option until we get to the ability to put the entire kind of GUI interface into our Nebula platform. So we're going to give you that tunnel mode so you can still get to the device through Nebula if you need to. But again, it's just, I think it's just kind of almost like a implementation difference, but in essence, it's going to look the same because you're either going to configure the device by logging into the device directly, or you can hook it into Nebula and just click on it and it takes you to the device. And it'll still be the GUI interface anyways. Again, so whether it's standalone or Nebula Cloud, it will make no difference in the future. So it just will be the path that you choose on how you want to manage it. All right. I know it's kind of a long, convoluted way, but you do get a lot of questions because people have been kind of conditioned to look for and only configure it within the Nebula Cloud platform. And so this kind of throws them off that if they have to click the device to get to the device GUI, then they think that it's not cloud managed anymore. But in essence, that's the way that it's going to be moving forward with these new devices, because ultimately we want to standardize and we want to universalize the configuration, and this is the path that it needs to go. I hope that makes sense. All of the products on the security side are AI powered. So again, it's constantly evolving. We're using different technologies out there from vendors that are providing us this protection: sandboxing, anti-malware, DNS, IP reputation, URL filtering, IPS applications, application patrol. All of that is being managed and then constantly looked at, defining kind of the best options on that kind of protection. So it's constantly evolving there. And you can see we're powered by some of the best in class security experts out there, a lot of brands that are out there to help to power this firewall. So you can see some of those names there, like Bitdefender, Trellix, Webroot for the IP reputation, on the cloud side, and then sandboxing with Norton LifeLock. Those are all available as standalone devices, but it's now integrated within our platform today. So again, the reason why there's differences is because we've just released our new fast and powerful UOS. I like to call the U as just more of like a universalized OS, because what it's going to allow for us to do is it's designed to increase security, minimize system response time, application changes are instantly, optimize configuration and policy management, and then there's a more intuitive user interface design as well that fits and feels like Nebula today. And what this will allow for us to do as well in the future is be able for you as a partner to migrate customers to different versions of the product. So let's say today you deployed a USG Flex 100H to the customer. Let's say in a year from now, they got some faster speeds and you need to upgrade them to a new platform. Well, rather than having to find ways to convert some of that configuration and then reconfigure it, you will actually be able to import or kind of convert your existing configurations into the newer models, so that, or to the higher end models, so that you're minimizing any kind of configurations, because again, those ports are universally configurable through software. So as long as that there are those physical ports there, it can be configured for those purposes. And so all the policies and rules, all of that is now going to move over as well. So that's going to make it a lot easier, a lot faster for you to deploy and to use the product. So just some of the screenshots of the interface itself. Just has the widgets and the details, the GUI framework there. The architecture is done so it can be a lot faster in terms of information that's being put out there. It's optimized in that framework as well. Boot up time is even faster than it is, and even when you have complicated rules and such like that. And there's security enhancements that are there to make sure that the firmware itself cannot be tampered with on the devices physically as well. So we're eliminating a lot of those kind of potential threats there. Some other information that is super valuable, again, is you can customize some of those dashboard widgets and information. You can put the summaries that are important to you. There's intuitive monitoring and enhanced dashboards that you can collect activities over time, and use that to analyze threats, applications that people are going to or using, websites people are going to, bandwidth usage, etc. A lot of that information, again, just similar to what you would find in Nebula's cloud platform. Again, you can drill in through that and get this interface. So from a look and feel, from a management standpoint, I think it's going to be just, again, an acceptance of this is just a new way that you manage it. And whether you're doing it via standalone or cloud, there's the option for that. So there shouldn't be a big issue on that. But the provisioning side will come. All of that will be available from the Nebula side. It allows for you to now do simplified keyword searches. So if you couldn't remember which menu had the VPN connectivity like configuration. You could type in VPN and it will give you these links that can, drill you into those navigation ports. You can also add my favorite functions, which allow for you to put kind of the ones that you use a lot in a my favorite side, that you can quickly get to those pages. So if you're you're constantly going into a firewall rule setting for that particular customer, or maybe the user accounts that you're managing a lot, put that into the my favorites. So when you get to that customer and you drill into that, you can just go directly to the page that you need immediately. So again, it helps you to facilitate the management and ongoing management of that customer. So the solution goes into anything, right? It goes into any office that you need high speed. You have high speed internet connection coming through. You want to maintain security, but then be able to do it at a very cost effective price without having to spend, thousands and thousands of dollars for a firewall that can produce that kind of throughput. You can see here our USG Flex 700H has a boast of 15 gigabits of SPI firewall throughput. It will do 4 gigs of UTM throughput. So that's quite a bit in terms of security firewall, appliance solution, and it's going to be in a price point of under $2,000 street price. So it's very, very cost effective in that regard for that space, for that kind of speed. But it does give you also 10 gig uplinks and 10 gig fiber if you want to use it as a WAN, 10 gig if you needed to, or you had other servers, or maybe a 10 gig network that you're serving within that bigger office. That gives you the option there. And then on the kind of the lower, using them in different spaces here, like the H's, the bigger ones can be for the main office. Then you can have your 200 H's or even the 100H series to interconnect via VPN, site to site type connectivity with that. So some of the highlights of the product itself: ultra high performance, enhanced security, all-in-one security extender VPN utility for IPsec or SSL for any OS, centralized management. Again, with those options, you can hook into Nebula platform. Again, it is a standalone device that can hook into Nebula. Port availability management, and the flexibility of you can redefining those particular ports. The only ones that you cannot redefine are the PoE ports. Those are already powered. So you'll see the ports that have the yellow bar underneath the port. Those signify the PoE plus ports there. So on the higher end ones, they'll have 2 ports that you can do PoE on. And then on the low ends, you'll have like a single port. So on the breakdown here, here's another view on some of the throughput. Even the 100Hs, they have gigabit ports. So at 8 gigabit ports, it will do a UTM throughput of 750 megabits per second. So that's probably great for like a customer that has a 500 meg connection. Small office that has a 500 meg connection. There's an H series or HP. So the product is the 100 HP comes with the 1 PoE port there. The 200H and the 200 HP also is a single PoE port on the HP model. But once you get to the Flex 500H and 700H, there's no HP models. They just come with PoE included. So whether you want to use it or not, it's going to be there, and it's going to facilitate 2 ports of PoE at 30 watts. And keep in mind too, the power budget is 30 watts total on both ports. So, depending on what your draw, and it's going to use what's being drawn by the device that's being powered there. So you could power up 2 voice phones. You could probably power up a phone and an AP if you needed to, or if you're using a higher end Wi-Fi 6 type AP that uses closer to 30 watts, then you could power, one of those APs with this. But usually what we find is on the higher end appliances, those are going to be installed in a server closet. So it may not well facilitate, a single PoE for an access point for their office. Usually there's probably going to be a larger PoE switch, 24 port or 48 port. That was going to provide the PoE for their voice phones, for their camera systems, and also for their access points, etc. But the big beefy one is our 700H, like I mentioned earlier. The 700H also boasts 2 million sessions as well to manage those networks. And again, that level of product for under $2,000 street prices is going to be very cost effective there. So it's actually not that much more expensive than our existing USG Flex 700 itself. You can see here some more detailed specs there on the session limits and the max concurrent sessions. And then kind of the differences between the different models within our security platform today. The USG Flex, you can see there can be in the standalone. You can add gold packaging that gives you additional sandboxing, IP reputation filter, and DNS reputation filter functionality. And then the H series comes with gold licensing as well, or at least gold options. You'll see those dots that are in gray, those are coming in the future. And so you'll see that appear in the coming months as we add functionality into this product. There's some detail feature comparisons today in a battle card. If you request from your account manager, we can send you those. It's a PDF of kind of a breakdown of here's all the features that are in our current ZLD and what is supported in the new UOS, or when those features are being supported in which firmware patch. There's several functionality features that will come available in the April or somewhere in the Q2 timeframe next year. So again, please look at before you start implementing it into your customers. We want you to test it to make sure it fulfills your need. But I think the drawback will be, or at least the balance will be, do I need the faster speed, and can I sacrifice some of these features that are not there yet because I'm not using them? A lot of the features, a lot of our customers don't use at all. So again, it just may fit your need to get that faster speed for right now. Otherwise, you may want to kind of hold off and wait until the features that you're actually needing come into play, and you can move forward with your customers. But I would say you probably would find 80% of your customers will be using the H series without those needs of those features that I've mentioned, or at least I alluded to. So, but definitely look at that. Send an email to your account manager to get that information, so we can provide that to you so you can get that adequate comparison there. So from the licensing side as well, the gold license is what we offer. You can buy the product in standalone as a hardware only mode. So it doesn't have the security features enabled, but it's kind of like, what's the point? If you're buying a security appliance and you want the speed, and then you want to enable the security side of it, so you might as well buy the licensed version. But we know you might have an application where you just need it as a pure SPI firewall, and so that's all you need to do, and that's all you want, and that's fine. And so again, it's up to you how you want to utilize it, in what way, in what application. So if you haven't been part of our partner program, it's free to join if you haven't joined yet. We work through D&H, Ingram, TD SYNNEX, Wave, Target, and Pace International right now for distribution of our products, and our partner program loaded in there to have your discounts. Now, also keep in mind, sometimes if there's lack of activity or you haven't purchased something in a while, some of the distributors may drop maybe have dropped some of the information on your partner plan. So if you see the pricing weird or off, doesn't seem like it's giving you any discounts, let us know so we can check that and make sure that it's loaded correctly. Let's see, Doug asks, will there be any USG Flex series like the Flex 50 in the price point that has PoE ports? Handy for teleworkers. Currently, right now, there has been discussion on it, but not yet. I know we have a Flex 50 AX that gives you Wi-Fi that's coming, that should be available soon. But from a PoE standpoint for the teleworker, we don't currently have one in the plan mix. There may be the 100H is probably closest to that, but I think the 50 is, in your $230 price point, and the 100H is, I think it's more in the, if you don't count security, because the Flex 50 doesn't have the full security. If you have a non-secure, just hardware only, it's probably in the $300 price range for that. So you might want to still look at that on the 100 HP to see if that is worthwhile. But I know in like even in our house, in my house, you could just get a DC adapter without having to worry about PoE itself and just have it plugged in. It's more handy to just have, or it's easier to access, I guess you can say. But I understand, like from a wiring and from a powering standpoint, like it would be nice, but it does add to the cost of it. So maybe that's why, the price point of the 100 H's, the 100 HP makes more sense right now. Good question. Thank you. All right. If you'd like to connect with us, you can join us on LinkedIn, Zyxel-US-channel, or on YouTube. You can find this recording later on as well. It's Zyxel America channel. If you also search for Zyxel, I think it's Zyxel Networks on YouTube, you'll find a very good kind of a help page channel that has a lot of videos on some of the technologies that I've talked about today, configuration, really short videos, 1-2 minute type, that help you understand or how to configure certain types of applications and configurations within our products. So take a look at that. You can also find me if you search for Zyxel TRI, then you'll also see me as well, that you can connect to. I'd love to connect and link with you on LinkedIn. But if you have any other questions right now, we have a couple minutes. If you do, please use the Q&A section. If you can't think of any questions right now, you can always email me later, or you can email your account manager. My email is tri at zyxel.com. And I'd love to answer any of those questions, or help to facilitate who might have the answers to those questions if necessary. So if you have no questions, you want to drop off, thank you for your time. Thank you for your afternoon. I'll give you your 10 minutes back in your day from the scheduled end time here. Hope you have a great rest of your day, your week, and have a good Thanksgiving next week as well, and the holidays to come. I hope to get to talk to you sometime soon, and I look forward to having a great 2024 as well. Thank you for your partnership and being a Zyxel ally. I'm going to sit here for maybe a minute or two and just say my farewells. And again, thank you for being here. Looks like there's no other questions right now. So again, and maybe if you're typing it or if you have a long question, feel free to email me and I'll try to answer that as we go. Again, signing off. Take care and have a good rest of your day. Goodbye.